Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Rebel News live stream on this, a Thursday, February 25th, 2021. Oh, geez, my visa bill is due. I'm David Menzies, and my lovely co-host, as always, on Tuesdays and Thursdays is Sheila, the she-devil Gunn Reid. Actually, that's a bit of a lie. I wasn't here on Tuesday. I was in the nickel capital of the world. That would be Sudbury, Ontario, home of the big nickel. And I want to thank the person who filled in for me on Tuesday. That would be High Energy Andrew Says, who evidently had some issue with my gym attire on a gym we shall not talk about. But Sheila was there, and how did the show go on Tuesday, She-Devil?
I think it went great, but you know what, David? Nobody quite has the charisma and chemistry that you and I have together. That's what I think. Like, no offense to the other co-hosts, but there's something special between you and I here. And we did actually veer into wrestling a little bit, which is why I'm wearing my Macho Man shirt today. Because we talked about wrestling, and I immediately got a complaint. And it wasn't from Ezra. It wasn't from, one of the thousands of people who watch us every day. I got it from someone who I actually didn't think watches any of my videos, because I know him in real life, and he probably gets, I assume that people who know me in real life get their Sheila fill just by being near me. I can be a little bit much. And so I didn't think that he watched my videos. But I got an angry text message from my friend Chief, who I called by his Christian name Mike on the stream, which also offended him. And he was very upset that I was not. There were some things said about Shawn Michaels and the Heart Foundation, and my friend Chief, who is beloved to me, that I never want to be mad at me. He said that my defense of the Heart Foundation was neither enthusiastic nor vigorous enough. And so I just wanted to get that out of the way, that I am as patriotic about beef and wrestling and all things Alberta. Like, I don't want anybody to think that I don't have a deep, visceral love for the Heart Foundation. And I just wanted to get the apologies out of the way, because as public as the mistakes are, the apologies have to be as public too.
Sheila, Alberta, nothing. The Heart Foundation, in my books, is easily in the top 10 tag teams in wrestling history. In fact, you know what? Over the weekend, why don't we compile that top 10 list? I mean, if the Heart Foundation, if they were based in Indonesia, they would still be in that top 10. That has nothing to do with patriotism. It has to do with their incredible performance as wrestlers and their mic work, which is sorely absent from the WWE of today. So 100%. I'm with you with the Heart Foundation. I have to tell you, I have the exact same T-shirt at home, but I bought it at an independent wrestling circuit from the actual wrestler who wore it, whose name was Sweet and Sour. So he took the Macho Man's logo and he put his own face there and completely ripped it off. It's even the same color. And I always wonder whatever happened to Sweet and Sour. And I know that name suggests a tag team, and it'd be a great tag team name, but that was just a guy, and he was very good. He was very entertaining. So if anyone has an update on the whereabouts of Sweet and Sour, and on that issue of top 10 tag team wrestlers, maybe you want to mention that on a super chat. And this is where Sheila tells you what a super chat is.
Yes, I will tell you what a super chat is. But I just to drive home how upset my friend Chief was at me. He said, I'm so furious right now. I'm so furious with you right now. Words can't even explain. And then there's an exclamation point. So I know he's serious. I think we might even be friends off, he wrote me. And we've known each other for like 25 years. I can't believe you didn't set the record straight right off the bat. Shawn Michaels is a pansy compared to the Hitman and Anvil. My heart is broken. And so
I actually agree with your friend's assessment. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I do too. That's why I'm making this like big public apology for not being vigorous enough in my defense of the Heart Foundation. But anyway, let's get, now that my like mea culpa is out of the way, let's get to the matter of the business at hand here. And
Thank you, Sheila, because Mr. Producer, he's just steaming behind the glass window. He doesn't, I don't think he likes us talking about wrestling or any other manly sport either.
No,
so please.
No, he likes Shawn Michaels. He likes Shawn Michaels. We came to this conclusion the other day. Anyway, I have to check my computer for a message from Justin, and I'll do that after I explain the super chats, please. So, we're way off into the ditch now. We're 5 minutes in. We haven't even explained what's going on here. So this is the daily Rebel News live stream. Hopefully there will be one on Friday if we haven't absolutely destroyed the show. There are 900 people watching. God bless every single one of you for hanging on the last 5 minutes. Yeah. There's more news than ever during the pandemic. And while the mainstream media has decided that they need to limit their local news coverage or limit news coverage in general and just relegating themselves to reporting on Justin Trudeau's 15-minute press conferences that were during the beginning of the pandemic, we thought, you know what, there really is a lot of things to cover, and sometimes we can't do that in a produced video. Sometimes things are breaking, and we need to sit down and talk about them as they happen. And so that's sort of how this thing grew. People were at home. We couldn't travel. So we thought, let's take the live stream that was just on Friday and mostly hosted by Ezra and expand it to 5 work days. And so that brings David and I to our chairs today. We host Tuesdays and Thursdays normally. Sometimes I'm out and about. Sometimes David's out and about. Ezra hosts Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Gives us a chance to interact with each other. You get to see, perhaps I would think, a more lighthearted side of your Rebel hosts. I know sometimes people are like, get to the news of the day. There needs to be more news on this show. But we do news every single day. Sometimes it's just kind of fun to have a little fun for once. And our viewers can interact with each other in the live chat, which is fun because you can't do that on the mainstream media. They sort of close the comment section. They want your money. They just don't want your opinion. But you can also do something called a super chat. So if you go to the bottom of the live chat, there's a little $sign there. You can click on that. You can throw some money in the pot there. The more money you donate, the more characters you get. And this is your chance to take the show, wrestle the reins, I guess, away from David and I, and take the show in your own direction. You can put a comment in there, constructive criticism about my wrestling tastes, a compliment, a show idea, a tip, a question. Really, it's your show. Just throw it in a super chat, and you can support the work that we do completely willingly because that's not how it works in the mainstream media. Justin Trudeau takes money out of your pocket to give to failing media companies that you have no interest in supporting.
And you know, Sheila, you mentioned Justin Trudeau and earlier on his daily 11 a.m. press conferences back in is it the good old days or the bad old days of the pandemic? And
who knows?
Here's my question, because I'd be driving down from Rich Man's Hill to Rebel World Headquarters somewhere in a bunker in Toronto, of which we shall not reveal. Mr. Producer's already shaking his head, so I've given away the location. But was Justin Trudeau ever in time for a single press conference? Because every time I tune in on a talk radio station on the AM dial, maybe one day Andrew says we'll find that on his car dashboard. He was always late, and his commute was walking down a flight of stairs. I mean, what disrespect is that forget about the media. I could care less if the CBC is standing in the cold waiting, but just for Canadians tuning in, they say the Prime Minister is going to tell you something very important at 11 a.m., and it's like 11:17 by the time he actually gets talking. What was the deal with that, Sheila?
Well, it is complete and total disrespect. I mean, he's got all the time in the world to do his 15 minutes worth of work a day. But even the mainstream media, you know, like some of them do have other stories that they need to get to. And Canadians at home are setting aside time to tune in because the pandemic, for some people, I suppose it remains that way for some people, was scary and unknown at the beginning, and things were changing rapidly all the time. And so you're looking to the Prime Minister for leadership, I guess. I don't know. I've never looked to Justin Trudeau for leadership, but some people did. And, it was just complete and total disrespect of so many people who were setting aside that time to tune in. And it's not like he was, I don't know, wasting time preparing himself, because we know that he has people who prepare his talking points and speeches. That's why if you ask him a question, he doesn't actually answer the question. He answers something else that he thinks you should have asked. And it wasn't like he was gussying himself up. There were times that he looked like a university professor, like a middle-aged university professor who is going through a divorce and he's sleeping in the family Volvo. That's what he looked like sometimes. Like he had like 4 sweaters on and his hair was all messy and he hadn't shaved in days. Like, I get you couldn't get a haircut, but what's the deal with not shaving, right?
Yeah,
I guess. Go ahead.
It was like he was conveying the vibe that he had spent the wee hours of the morning online playing Call of Duty and maybe smoking a bong while doing so. But let's be fair, Sheila. He didn't necessarily avoid all questions. He always answers questions he likes, like, Mr. Prime Minister, how are you coping with the stress of the pandemic? Mr. Prime Minister, what shampoo are you using to give you such beautiful, lustrous hair? Oh, and always what I love, Sheila, is that when he gets a question like that, a softball, you see that smile, and it's like, you know what he's thinking? Yeah. Look at the watchdogs that I've turned into the lapdogs. Yeah. Isn't this great? Yeah. Right? They're eating out of my hand.
I feel the same way when I finally get my dog to shake a paw. Where I'm like, yes, you got it. And I'm so proud because I've well-trained the dog that doesn't listen to me and all she does is chew on stuff under the desk as I'm working. But when she, like that one time, reaches out and gives me a high five, I'm like, that's how Justin Trudeau feels when they lob him these softballs.
Well, Sheila, we better get this train back on the rails. And hey, how do you like that as a segue? When you think of trains, you think of whistles and whistle stops. And wow, talk about victory on the Alberta food service front. I mean, complete and utter devastating victory for the entrepreneurs who are running restaurants. You've, Sheila, done such amazing, awesome work covering the Whistle Stop Cafe in tiny little Mirror, Alberta. I believe it's a hamlet. And you've gone to other restaurants as well. Always seems to be in the small communities, not in Edmonton or Calgary. And maybe we can get into that later. But why don't we, for anyone that might not know what the Whistle Stop story is about, why don't we run a little video of that right now?
We've got a major victory to report in the Alberta Restaurant Rebellion. Now, the Restaurant Rebellion was first started when Mirror Alberta's Chris Scott opened up his little Whistle Stop Cafe to the open arms of his community. Alberta restaurants at the time had been closed to dine-in services since the middle of December. But by January, with no end in sight to the closure of his restaurant, Chris just reopened in complete defiance of the lockdown orders. And customers came and filled up his small diner day after day after day. And so did Alberta Health Services and the local RCMP. Day after day, Chris was subject to constant surveillance and constant visits from the local police and Alberta health inspectors. Chris was given a closure order and then 2 summonses to appear in provincial court for violating the public health order. In the midst of all of this, a rebellion was inspired. Restaurants from all across the province followed suit, also breaking the lockdown to welcome customers back into their dining rooms again. The rebellion grew. It spread to Cold Lake and Bashaw, Sylvan Lake, Big Valley, Smith, Red Deer, Hanna. And the rebellion grew so fast that the Alberta government was forced kicking and screaming into announcing an official launch date for restaurants. That date, February 8th. Now, Alberta Health Services sought and won an emergency court injunction to close Chris's Whistle Stop. This was especially draconian and spiteful because then it meant a bench warrant could be issued for Chris's arrest if he was found to be in breach of the judge's emergency order. Now, that emergency injunction came just 2 business days before the official reopening launch date for restaurants across the province. But Chris wasn't worried because we had hired him a top-notch criminal lawyer at no cost to Chris through fightthefines.com. That lawyer is named Chad Williamson, and he worked diligently, aggressively, and passionately on Chris's case. And now Chris and Chad have scored a major victory against the entire health bureaucracy here in Alberta and everything that bureaucracy could have thrown at Chris. Just take a look at this.
Well, we're not going to take a look at this.
Well,
Caught you by surprise, Sheila. But I think what
okay.
you were going to get into is not only has he won, I guess it was a stare down with the authorities, but correct me if I'm wrong, he's going to be reimbursed his legal fees by the government, Sheila?
right. And I really should take a minute to clarify here.
Okay.
So Chris still has 2 summonses to appear in Stettler Provincial Court in April. So that stuff has not gone away. And thank goodness he has a legal tiger like Chad Williamson working for him to do that, because Chad is so aggressive and sharp. He's the perfect rebel lawyer. Like, he's just the perfect rebel lawyer. But he wanted, there was an injunction in place against him that was ordering Chris Scott to close. And basically, Alberta Health Services withdrew on that proceeding because they didn't want to lay a precedent down, so quickly withdraw it. So as soon as Chris lawyered up and started fighting that, AHS decided to say, no, thank you. We don't want any part of that. However, we'll see you back in court in April. So while there is a major victory here, because he really is the first restaurant who stared down the government blinked when it offered to reopen restaurants, and then now it blinked again, withdrawing that proceeding against him. But there's still a lot of fight left ahead for Chris Scott. And if people want to help Chris and see that full video with, again, that incredibly sharp lawyer, Chad Williamson, they can do that at fightthefines.com.
And Sheila, there's another little epilogue to this story. Chris is tired of playing defense. He's now going on the offense, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He is looking to bring forward an application to have the entire lockdown, I guess, thrown out with a charter challenge. And I should note that Chris is a guest on Ezra's Paywalled show tonight, the Ezra Levant show. Great. So if you don't have to hear it from me, hear it from Chris. He's such a calm, good spokesperson for not only the Alberta Rebellion, but his entire industry and how they're hurting. So that's on Ezra's Paywalled show, the Ezra Levant show tonight. And if you're not already a subscriber, might I suggest that you go to rebelnewsplus.com to join today. It is $80 a year, and you get 2 months, and you get 30 days for free to help you make up your mind. I think that's the best value, probably. And you get David's show, Rebel Roundup, which is fun and lighthearted, and then you get my show, The Gunn Show, where I talk to some of the lesser-known activists in the political sphere. And you also, for free, we've thrown in Andrew Chapados' brand new show, Andrew Says. So you get an extra show for the same amount of money, and I think it's a great value.
What a deal. That's what I have to say. And Sheila, I think we might have some super chats on the front burner already.
We do, and I'm going to put on my glasses ahead of time instead of just struggling to see and then realizing I'm not reading my glasses.
You look so different with those glasses on, Sheila. I'm picking up a vibe of Clark Kent and Superman here. It's just a totally different look. So maybe that alias did work for the Man of Steel.
He's a dude who changed his clothes in a phone booth.
What's a phone booth? 100 millennials are saying right now.
I know, right? Okay. Chris Lynch gives us $2. The Brothers of Destruction, best tag team ever.
Oh.
Interesting. Let's put that on the list.
Okay.
Georgie or Yorgie, please clarify. Should I say that as a Y or a J? Anyways, $20 Canadian. Thank you very much. Hey guys, love your work. I have to, however, take issue with Sheila, another person with a problem with me. I had several of those. Anyway, I welcome it though, because this sounds pretty constructive. When she called the vaccines an experiment the other day. While I won't be taking the vaccine, I've been around hospitals a long time and they're tested. Look, I don't mean other vaccines. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean other vaccines. I just, with the instance of some of these COVID-19 vaccines, I think they've been rushed to market. And that's just my concern. I'm not taking the vaccine because, well, first of all, there's a gazillion other people ahead of me in the line, but I'm youngish. I'm healthy. I don't have any underlying conditions. Let somebody else have them.
And Sheila, I want to add to what you just said. I'm not anti-vaccine at all either. My concern is the rush to market and the way, typically a vaccine takes 10 years to develop. It's considered lightning fast if it's 5 years. This has been a year. And part of the process is by taking out all the regulatory red tape, which usually I'm very much in favor of. But I have concerns when it comes to, what's going into your body. And for me, it's personal. I'm a 1962 baby. My mother actually got a prescription for thalidomide, which was approved in Canada, but not in the US, as I understand. And it was amazing, Sheila. If anyone doesn't know what thalidomide did, the side effects, it caused terrible birth defects, horrible birth defects. You can Google it, folks. I won't go into graphic detail. That prescription was in her night table for morning sickness for her entire pregnancy. I don't know what it was, woman's intuition, a change of heart. It certainly wasn't any kind of research, no internet back then. She never took a single pill. And had she gone on that, I don't know what my life would have been. I don't know what I would look like today. And it was, to me, that's the ultimate cautionary tale, that when it comes to things going into our bodies, maybe we do have to give it a second and a third look and do the proper testing. That's my concern about this vaccine being rushed to market.
Yeah, all my kids are vaccinated. I've been vaccinated. I'm not against vaccines. I just think that this was incredibly fast. And so I am wary. I'm not even skeptical. I'm just sort of wary of it. And I don't think that I need it. I just don't think that I'm one of those people that needs to look at the risks versus reward and make that choice. I just don't think I need it. There are other people who do. Shaka off the Nile gives us $5. Rebel, your work showing Canadians truth with integrity gives me hope for the future. Many Canadians are so very grateful, including me. Be blessed. Thank you. That was a kind note. By the way, I did get some criticism on the stream last time because somebody said that it's rude when I look at my phone or the other screen when I'm on air. And please understand, I have the Skype here that I'm watching it at the corner of my eye to make sure it doesn't crash, because I don't work in studio. All I have is Justin whispering in my ear. Justin is on the other side of a control panel from David, so he's got all the help he needs. And then over here I have the YouTube stream, and I'm monitoring the chats, and I'm trying to get the super chats from Justin, but sometimes they don't go directly to my computer, and sometimes they go directly to my phone. So I'm trying to do a lot of things at once. Please don't think that I'm being rude to David. He has my undivided attention.
And likewise, folks, come on. I get it. Many of you are probably being, laid off, or you're in quarantine, you're in lockdown, however you want to call it. You're going stir crazy. It's cabin fever almost. But come on, Sheila, she's so lovable. You can't criticize her for multitasking. And that's what it is. That's why we're co-hosting. They've tried me solo, and these big ham-fisted fingers of mine always punch a button that deletes super chats, or the screen goes blank, and you have to have Mr. Producer get off his lazy boy chair and come in here and rejig everything. So I am so happy for Sheila as a co-host.
Oh, David. I just want to go back just a second here, though, to the kind lady who gave us those those wishes or those well wishes that says she's so very grateful.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that what happened with Chris at the whistle stop, it's not because of anything that we necessarily did. We were just sort of the vehicle, but it's because of everybody at home that showed support for Chris, dined in his restaurant, showed support for all those other restaurants opening up, and helped crowdfund his lawyer, who worked so hard and so much to secure this first victory from the government. It's really thanks to all of you at home. So let me just say that I'm grateful for your ongoing support of us and people like Chris and the other freedom fighters that we showcase or that we crowdfund for their specific causes here on the network. None of it would be possible without all of you at home.
And Sheila, he really didn't get that much support from mainstream media now, did he?
No.
And you know, it was amazing. A week ago, it was last Saturday, Adam Skelly of Adamson Barbecue, who also pulled what Chris was doing, but got shut down literally by all the King's men and all the King's horses and got a $180,000 police bill. He had a press conference. He invited the mainstream media. And I have to say, you know, the CTV reporting, I just shook my head. Adam, that press conference was all about the tactical approach he was using in his lawsuit that's going to Ontario Superior Court. It's a constitutional challenge of the Reopening Ontario Act. Yeah, reopening. We're closing everything down. We're calling it the Reopening Ontario Act. There was so much fodder there. There was so much grist for the mill to report. And then when I saw the CTV report, it was, you know, a couple of paragraphs. Oh yeah, he's launching legal action. And then the reporter, she went out onto Bayview Avenue, found a restaurateur that says, yeah, I like the lockdown. You know, found the statistical anomaly to say, yep, the government's doing the right thing. It's tough, of course, it's hard, but I agree with it. I go, what does this have to do with the story? I mean, you know, it was like a quest for balance, I suppose, but it was really trying to push the narrative of lockdowns are good.
Yeah, they did the same thing with Natalie Klein from Blades to Fades. I mean, she opened up her barbershop, and then just a couple days later, the government moved to open up all barbershops, hair salons, and personal care facilities. And I'm sure it was because it was done by her, and because there's so much goodwill attached to her uncle, Ralph Klein. But the mainstream media went and found the three busybodies in town, other hairdressers, who didn't have the gall, gumption, and bravery that Natalie had to reopen their their barbershop, and said, well, yeah, maybe, you know, it's not fair what Natalie did opening her doors. What do you mean it's not fair? She's facing fines. She had Alberta Health Services show up, but basically the whole idea was it's not fair that she's getting this business when she's illegally open. And it's like, well, just open up then, lady. Like, just do what Natalie did. But they'd rather have Natalie close than them do what Natalie did, because Natalie is a brave lady.
How do these investigative journalists in the mainstream media always find, you know, the pro-lockdown people and pass them off as though they're speaking for the majority of the people in their respective industries? Isn't it amazing, Sheila?
It's like they can just sniff them out. They can't find like the actual journalism, but they've got a real nose for garbage, don't they? Let's
like
keep
raccoons.
Going. Like raccoon, and I've never actually seen a raccoon in the wild, by the way. Every time I'm in Toronto, I go wandering around late at night looking for raccoons, and I never see them.
Oh, Sheila, I've done, back in the days of Sun News, I did a story on raccoons. I got a complete education. The Toronto raccoons are now basically a subspecies.
Yes, I've seen this. I did so much research into raccoons. You don't even know. It's obscene. But yeah, there's a subgenre of raccoons out there.
They're bigger. They're fatter. They live longer. They have bigger litters. And if you want a cash for life business in the GTA, folks, become one of those wildlife people that go into your attic or your chimney and remove the raccoons. Because Sheila, I'm not making this up. The reason why the raccoon issue keeps going and going, and I spent the day with one of these raccoon extractor guys, is that once they capture the raccoon, I thought, okay, off we go to Northern Ontario to release it. Oh, no. By regulation, they can only release it 0.9 of a kilometer away. First of all, what kind of idiot bureaucrat doesn't just round it up and say a kilometer? But here's the point. 900 meters it's moved, which means it just finds its way back. And the homeowner's got to call the guy again eventually. What a scam.
Yeah, it's like the exterminator people have drafted the law to make, so that there's always like a self-feeding bunch of raccoon problems that it just keeps feeding into itself because you're catching and releasing the raccoon literally close enough to see where it came from. Like it's just okay, I'm going back.
Unbelievable.
Very neat, exterminators. Neat little scam you have there with the city. And I'm joking. Maybe you don't have a scam with the city. Don't write me any more letters, people. Okay. Okay, let's keep going. Varying Redbeard gives us £5, says thank you, Rebels. Greg G gives us $10 and says, we, Rebel Nation, need to help that guy that was choked and handcuffed by Canadian Tire employees in BC. Video on InfoWars. I've seen the video. I know Drea has reached out to him and she's doing her background research already. Just to make sure that the story is exactly what is being presented.
Yeah, because there is allegation. I mean, I saw that video. I was disturbed beyond words. I couldn't believe what that individual went through.
Yeah.
In the news reports I've read about that video, they're saying before the video began, the allegation is that he took a punch at the employees for telling him to mask up or get out. So this will... I assume be caught on Canadian Tire's, internal surveillance cameras, unless there was a glitch or the footage got deleted accidentally, what have you. So we really need to find out the full story on this particular file. But if that was unprovoked, Sheila, and that's a big if. My God, that is one of the grossest violent acts I've seen in terms of mask etiquette since this virus thing began.
Right. The thing with that story is you just have to wait till all the details come out because, like you say, there's probably more than likely surveillance footage from the Canadian Tire. And we know a lot of things. Sometimes once the full story comes out, it's not... It might be still the same way, but there's more to the story, and we just want to make sure that we get it right.
Indeed.
Mike519 gives us $10, and I don't see a super chat, but that's very generous. Travis Coulson gives us $6.99. Travis, you're a regular super chatter. At some point, Gravel is going to need a sport. Oh, you mean Rebel. Okay, perfect. I think you had an autocorrect problem there. At some point, Rebel is going to need a sports and weather reporter so I don't ever have to go to another media. Please don't give David ideas about being a sports reporter. And for the editing team who edits my videos when I've been working outside, for example, on the Whistle Stop story or whatever, the first 45 seconds of every video before I send it in is me complaining about the weather, complaining that my nose is running, complaining that the batteries on my equipment isn't working, or that I have like 2 minutes of mic charge left before everything dies because of the weather. So I suppose if they gathered up all those outtakes, that would be like a weather report for me, but it would be like over the course of a month.
Well, I got to tell you, Sheila, I do tune into the Weather Channel from time to time. Those weather girls there, very intellectual caliber broadcast professionals, got to tell you.
You seem a little tongue-tied, David. Anywho. We could do like the lesser known sports of
like hurling in Ireland, maybe.
Yeah, or even like bowling or like on dodgeball. Like what was that? ESPN 8 or whatever, the Ocho. Do you remember the movie Dodgeball where it was like they had? That's why they covered dodgeball. Anyway, that'd be kind of fun. Travis Coulson, gives us $2.79 just to correct his autocorrect mistake. Says, damn it, that autocorrect, he meant Rebel. Thanks. Olga Jenny gives us $5. I have a friend in Paris born with no arms because of thalidomide.
That was exactly the kind of problem I was referring to, folks. Horrible. I'm sorry to hear that.
And Shuman Shrivastava, I think I got it right this time. I struggled last time. Gives us $5. You need to cover how thousands of people have died from mRNA vaccines. This is not a vax. This is gene therapy, not a conspiracy. I say fact. Karen D, 279, gives us a thumbs up. MEDW gives us $5. Congratulations, Chris, family, and Sheila on that big win. Excellent reporting on that. The intro to your video was amazing. Whoever put that together. That was Mocha, and we don't deserve Mocha. He's got such an eye for cinematography, and he knows how to pick the exact perfect music to tell the story in a video. So when you see some of our more compelling, visually told stories, it's our young guys in the office. It's Mocha, it's Lincoln, it's Efron. I mean, we have a pretty young production side team, but boy, are they ever good. They are just incredible.
Yep, Mocha, Lincoln, Efron, Sid, Alex.
Yes.
These guys will go to the end of the world. They'll put in the overtime. You know, I always see that, by the way, I'm not going to mention names, but I was talking to a friend of ours in the mainstream media, and he was talking about some of the photographers he works with. And it's a constant battle because, well, if I have to go there, then I might have to claim overtime, and there's paperwork to fill out. Because it's a unionized environment, you see, Sheila. We never deal with that kind of garbage, and we're so grateful for it. And yeah, you're right. It's kind of like we don't deserve them. They're that good, folks.
Well, and I say this all the time, but I want to point it out. It's not just like the video production guys or the editing team. We have like our web team, the team that puts together the words on the website and publishes stuff for us.
Yes.
They go to the Saturday protest because it is literally all hands on deck some days. And while they may not be all like camera people, they just decide to be camera people because we're a team, and where the team goes, we all go, and we're all working really hard. And yeah, it's not like, well, today is my day off and I worked 39 hours this week, and if I put in 2 more, then that's 41, and I'm going to need an hour off in lieu next week. No, we just go because that's the work that needs to be done.
And you know what I'd love too, Sheila, is that unlike the mainstream media, I'll pick a company at random, Bell Media, which a few weeks ago did all these massive layoffs, actually canceled some radio stations outright. And by the way, I'm not taking any glee in anyone losing their job, folks. That's not the point of this story. But the mainstream media that's telling us how to live our lives, that's gone totally woke, right? They're contracting, but we're hiring very shortly a new editor, a new cameraman, an Ottawa-based reporter, and a Montreal-based reporter. We're expanding to bring you more news. Pardon me?
And a lawyer.
Oh, and a lawyer. Another lawyer on payroll? Holy mackerel.
It's cheaper to hire them outright than to pay them by the hour. So, you know, like in the interest of saving money and stretching those donation dollars as far as we can so that we can have the most impact, we're hiring an in-house lawyer.
And I think Victoria is doing a great job. She's got so many cases, and wow.
She took the mess that was Fight the Fines and turned it into, because we got so many at once and it was just me standing behind the deluge of Fight the Fines emails.
Yes.
And she took the like hodgepodge that I had and turned it into a well-oiled machine, coordinating with all these lawyers all across the country. And more than her organizational skills, she's got a heart for the work.
Oh, yeah.
She, you know, like I'll get emails from Victoria saying, you know, like, this is a terrible story, Sheila. We have to reach out to them. We have to feature this story because she's a true believer in civil liberties, but she also has a heart for the people that we're helping. And so she's just the right person for the job.
Well, that's funny you get those emails from Victoria, Sheila. The emails I get from Victoria are, will you stop bothering me?
You know, do those emails work? Because I'll start sending them to you. Anywho, let's keep going because we have 20 minutes left in the show.
Okay.
Mark Owens gives us 1111, and he says Justin needs to be locked up immediately for the hotels. Do you know what? I think we should drop the super chats just for a second, and we should go into Ian's COVID hotel sneak peek. If it's not been published already, it might be already up on the YouTube channel.
All right.
Okay, perfect. We should go right into that because there have been 2 separate alleged reports of sexual misconduct coming from the COVID quarantine system. So one happened in a hotel, a jail, a COVID jail, and one happened at a woman's house, and it was a mandatory quarantine check. And again, this is all alleged. It hasn't gone to court. But when you are taking people and you're not telling them where you're taking them and you're not allowing them to tell their family where they're going, it opens up, it makes people vulnerable to these sorts of things. And let me tell you, there should be hell to pay and heads rolling if these things are proven to be true.
And Sheila, not only not telling them, but lying. Yeah, I said it, folks, lying. Like Jamie at the Radisson at 640 Dixon Road, who said the hotel's under construction. That's why it's closed to the public. And you see all these little faces pressed up against the glass. But so much for the credibility on that file. So yeah, let's run a little of Kian's report right now.
Justin Trudeau is about to face a scandal of epic proportions. Think SNC Lavalin, think We Scam, but perhaps even worse, because it turns out Justin Trudeau is using your tax dollars in a way that is allowing Canadians to be sexually assaulted by the security contractors that he's hiring to go door to door to check on at-home quarantiners. And it's not just that. People who are staying in COVID hotels, not unlike the one that is behind me right here in Calgary. In this case, it was actually in one near Montreal. People are getting sexually assaulted in those rooms as well. It's horrific what is going on, and reports coming from La Presse show that the government has had the locks on all of the individual doors removed, allowing anyone to get in and out. They say that it's for cases of emergency. What it's allowing is for people inside of those hotels to sexually assault and maybe even rape people who are in those doors. We don't know the magnitude of this situation going on right now, but currently we have reports of 2 women. One who was quarantining at home was allegedly sexually assaulted by a security contractor in the Halton region. The regional police said it will not identify the name of the security company where the man was an employee, but they say that he's been suspended. Justin Trudeau doesn't want the names of these security contractors being put out to light because it might turn out that this is more widespread than has been reported in just the day that it's broken so far. This might escalate. Rent-A-Cop quarantine enforcement checker was, quote, charged after allegedly demanding a cash fine from an Ontario resident and then sexually assaulted her when she refused to pay. Justin Trudeau has to answer for this, even though he probably won't. Justin Trudeau liked sexually assaulting people, just like he did with Rose Knight when he was groping her, a reporter, back in his young days. People have forgiven him for that, but it turns out when he's Prime Minister, the exact same thing is happening under his watch because he called for this. Althea Raj, in a tweet that she's probably going to delete because she carries water for this government, she says, Trudeau says, government-hired private security firms are going to beef up checks on people quarantining at home. Well, what do you know? Just a month after that tweet came out, one of those very guards that Justin Trudeau hired allegedly went to someone's door, extorted them for a cash fine, and when the woman didn't comply, he sexually assaulted her. And now...
Wow, these are unbelievable allegations. I mean, Sheila, we're going from the quarantine hotel to the no-tell motel. And but I guess to use a Justin Trudeauism, maybe she experienced it differently, you know, the extortion and the molesting. Unbelievable.
If Justin Trudeau would not lock his mother and his wife in one of these COVID hotels, then why is he locking up yours?
Yep.
That's the true test here. If any of these Liberal MPs who think that this quarantine jail system is a good idea, if they wouldn't stuff their helpless wives, daughters, mothers into these things, why is it good enough for the rest of us? I mean, what did they think was going to happen when they were basically abducting Canadian citizens from the airport, taking them to hotels to deal with a quarantine that really isn't necessary if you're going to quarantine at home, but that, as we just found out, that has its own host of issues. But then we also have the idea that these are private contractors trained super rapidly by the Public Health Agency of Canada to do these security checks on people in their home. What's the screening process for these people?
Exactly.
Do we know?
You know, Sheila, we know if you were to be a hockey coach in minor hockey, you go through a police screening, and well, you should. You know, you don't want to give, a would-be pedophile access to the, to victims. But again, this is the problem, isn't it, Sheila, when you rush things through. And you're right. I don't understand the need for these hotels, for law-abiding, tax-paying Canadian citizens, why they can't quarantine at home. You know, I've got a story coming up. The reason I was in Sudbury, this was a lineman, Sheila, coming back to Canada from California where he's doing line work. And the reason why he came back to Ontario is Mike has cancer. And he had a treatment appointment with his doctor, but because they didn't accept his negative test that he got for COVID in California, they put him in that ratty Radisson hotel with its stitched up sheets and black mold in the shower, and they gave him crap food to eat in portions that would make a budgie starve. And when he left after 2 nights of that misery, and by the way, he didn't get permission to go to the doctor's appointment. He missed it. When he got back to Sudbury, 2 constables come to his house and give him a fine for almost $4,000. And I said to Mike, you know what? You were a fool, my friend. You shouldn't have gone by the rules and been honest. You should have just flown into New York State, walk over to Quebec at Roxham Road, and then the police aren't giving you a fine. They're turning into bellhops and carrying your luggage.
Yeah, I've got a similar story. Actually, after I get off the stream with you today, I have to interview the wife involved. Her husband works in the oil patch, so obviously this is a story that's near and dear to me and something I understand in a way that people in the mainstream media probably wouldn't. Her husband works in New Mexico, and flying back to Alberta, and he's on I think it's a 2-week on, 1 week off. So he's got a 2-week hitch in New Mexico, and then he flies home. Well, he's going through the Calgary airport with the health bureaucrats there. They nab him and take him off to quarantine. So he's only got a week home with his wife and family. They nab him and take him to half of that in quarantine. And the other guys on his crew, on the same plane, they get a different health or security officer. I'm not even sure who they're talking to at the airport. And I don't think travelers are either. They have a different interpretation of the law and let the guys on his crew go through. So he is in quarantine away from his wife, who drove from her home that is, I think, an hour and a half away from Calgary to pick him up from the airport, only to find out that he's been abducted off to a COVID hotel and she has to go back.
Unbelievable. So basically what you're saying, Sheila, this was officer's discretion. One guy was Mr. Nice Guy, the other was the bad cop. And and folks, by the way, we have tried to reach out. I mean, I put in a call to Bill Blair's office, the public safety minister. They at least had the decency to send me an email saying, "Ease not my job, try Public Health Agency of Canada." They've never responded to my questions. And on Monday, when the new rules went into effect, we were out there bright and early at Toronto Pearson Airport. We called the 1-800 number for the quarantine hotels, and not once did my calls get through to a human being before being disconnected. I interviewed a man waiting for his wife on Monday morning in the space of 90 minutes. 15 phone calls he put into that 1-800 number, Sheila. 15 disconnects before he even got to speak to a human being. This whole program is a fiasco.
Well, yeah, and especially like these oil patch workers. Energy workers are an essential service, and I completely agree with that. I mean, what's happening in Texas could not be a bigger testament to that, that you do need energy workers. But they also travel routinely back and forth across the border for their job, which also makes them generally exempt, like a trucker or, for that matter, a CBC reporter. And so these guys, because they're energy workers, and maybe you got someone who doesn't understand the law or has a specific feeling about the oil and gas sector, this guy is stuffed away in a COVID hotel for half of his time off, And then he gets out. Basically, when you're off for your 1 week, you have errands to run. He's probably going to need stuff that he wants to take back with him to New Mexico. He's going to have like a day and a half with his family, turn and burn and head back to work. And it's not fair because it, like you say, it's all at the discretion of the agent
and
or poorly trained health official.
Yeah, and Sheila, just like those oil and gas workers, Mike from Sudbury, who is a lineman in California, he's an essential worker too. He's there to keep the power. I can just see some bureaucrat in Ottawa going, can't you work remotely from home on Zoom or Skype?
Yeah.
No. The reason why you have Zoom and Skype is I'm putting up the bloody lines to keep the power going, right? It is such an outrage.
It is. And we should get to these super chats. We have 10 minutes left in the show and we dropped them to talk about Keen's video. But Keen's video, I think, was so important.
I agree.
Believe in Jesus gives us $5 and says, I love it when you guys are on. I actually have to turn down the volume. Sorry. Is that me or is that David yelling? She says, with Ezra,
Sorry.
I can't get the volume high enough. It's because he uses, when he's on the stream, he uses his indoor husky voice. It's very compelling. It's pleasing to the ear. I know it annoys some people, but I kind of like it.
Yeah. As for me, as the saying goes, folks, if you don't have anything profound to say, shout it.
I have been told that I'm shrill and that sometimes I cackle. And you know what? I take the criticism as constructive. I get it. I hear it. I hear it.
Well, I don't think you're shrill, but I will say I think Drea has the nicest voice of all. I mean, she should be recording audiobooks, Sheila. You know, I could drift off to sleep at night listening to the gentle tone of Drea Humphrey reading a book, I think.
I think, Drea, if you're watching, I think you're lying about your background. I think that you are trained in broadcasting because she can't be that much of a natural. She just can't, but she is. Required very little training. Her tone and intonation on the microphone, it's incredible. How did that happen? Like, she just hit the ground running. I think she maybe has some journalism training that she doesn't want to tell us about because we frown on that sort of thing around here.
So you're alleging that Drea is a trained broadcast professional in real life?
Yeah, I think so. But she's lying about it because she knows that we're like, If two candidates and one was a trained journalist and one wasn't, we would take the one that wasn't just because there's no unlearning there. I think she might be lying to us. Marilyn Walls gives us $10. I just subscribed for the first time to Rebel News Plus, not just to see Ezra and Chris tonight, but to support you guys for your really great work. Thank you so much. P.S. Leave Sheila alone. She does a great job. You know what? I shouldn't be whining and complaining that I get emails because most of the time the criticism is constructive. And I do take the criticism to heart when it's coming from people like you who support the work that we do. The criticism where it's just like, I don't like your hair and your politics are bad and you like Gunn, so you suck. I don't care about that sort of stuff. Like, who cares about that guy? But if it's like from one of our regular viewers who's curious about what I'm doing and they might be misinterpreting it, I'm happy to address those criticisms on air, especially the one from my friend Chief.
You know, and Sheila, you have to have a thick skin. You know, in the local Toronto market on AM 640, there was a morning show host. I always struggle with her name. It sounds like Toyota Supriya Dwivedi or something like that. And she was on the morning show and she quit because there were nasty things being said about her. And you should have seen the mainstream media articles. Oh, the racism, the misogyny. Holy mackerel, you're in talk radio and you can't take criticism, even unfair criticism, which we get every time. I'll tell you, Sheila, I think I speak for you. Our skin is like Godzilla. It's thick enough to repel Exocet missiles. But I mean, in this business, you got to have a thick skin. You got to have a spine. You can't be some little snowflake. But apparently in Toronto, you're not allowed to be hostile to talk radio people. Unbelievable.
Over the weekend, the journalists in Edmonton were complaining because I think somebody at the legislature on Saturday yelled at them that they were fake news or something along those lines. And probably it was a little more impolite than what I just said, but I thought, like, I literally got punched there. And you guys didn't have anything to say, but I hope your feelings are okay. Like, sorry, I don't care. Like, water off a duck's back. You're
Yeah.
crying about your hurt feelings. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I just don't care. Toughen up. Kane and Mark. Hi, Kane. Whistle Stop BLT is so good, isn't it? It's huge too. It's like that big. Be good to best Justin in Canada, David. Ha ha ha.
There you go. Yeah, and Sheila, with all those zombie burgers you were consuming, how do you stay so thin, my friend? That's remarkable.
I did put on a little weight. I'm not gonna lie. I did. I did. The burger junket. It does show in my pant size. Now
I don't believe
I'm thin
you.
To start with. I'm thin to start with, so it doesn't hurt me. But it was not. I mean, it didn't come without its consequences.
I don't believe you for a second. If I was on that beat, Sheila, I'd be the next subject for my 600-pound life. I could see Dr. No chastising me for not losing 80 pounds in 30 days or whatever.
And these restaurant owners are so proud of the food that they make, and they should be, because it's incredible. But you walk in the door and it's like, Sheila, let me get you a milkshake, and let me get you this big, huge burger, and here, try these fries, and here, have this big bowl of soup, and try this new recipe. And it's like, I would sit there and I would be working at my computer, and there would be just a pile of dishes all around me the whole day. I would just like munch my way through the day.
Wow.
So not the worst assignment I ever had.
Well, I'm impressed that you've kept the calories off.
Kane also goes on to say, I love the silly shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thank you so much. Christina Pabloka gives us $20.99. Thank you, Rebel Media, for your great job. Thank you. Herbert Hildebrandt. Very nice to meet you, by the way, over the weekend. Great work on the restaurant rebellion in Alberta. Nice to see a win. Now let's get that church rebellion happening. Yes. Across the country.
It is happening. Because Sheila, I think what Mr. Hildebrandt is referring to is, of course, the pastor in a maximum security jail along with murderers and rapists and pedophiles in Edmonton for having the temerity to open up his house of worship. And I'll tell you this much, you know this story better than I do. This is another staring contest with the government, and he's going to win. I think he's winning right now.
Yeah, he is going to win. And his church is going to win. His congregation is going to win. And they've already won. Why? Because they're being true to their conscience. They're not violating their conscience. They are called by God to do the right thing. And for them, the right thing is to disobey a bad law. Yeah. And so while, the pastor's in a maximum security jail right now, he's winning because he's not violating his conscience. He's dealing with the consequences of a bad law, but at least he's not done something that would damage his conscience in any way. And I truly believe, Mr. Hildebrandt, that it was you folks who really started this first. You were the first sort of pushback against the government overreach of the pandemic into our churches. And you were that sort of first spark. Now, you didn't face the consequences that Pastor Coates is facing. However, you have faced your own consequences, and you are continuing to answer to your own conscience and God over government.
Yeah, and what Sheila's referring to, folks, is Mr. Hildebrandt's father is the pastor at the Church of God in Elmer. And, it's funny, isn't it, Sheila? What happened to those old chestnuts of the left pre-pandemic? My body, my choice, reasonable accommodation. Remember that one? Those have gone out the window. No one is going around and shanghaiing people and bringing them into restaurants or places of worship. They're going there by their own choice. They're taking on the risk such as it is. I don't think there is any risk, to be quite frank. And yet they have to be shamed, fined, jailed. It's unbelievable, the role reversal we've seen in our society since this took effect about a year ago. Sheila?
Yeah, and for these radical progressive leftists, trust me, there's no threat to you. If people want to gather in a more orthodox Christian church, because you won't have anything to do with them, generally speaking. So you're not going to be exposed to them in any way. By the way, Pastor Coates actually faces a greater risk of contracting COVID in the jail system than he ever had at his completely COVID negative church. The Remand Center has had at least 2 outbreaks of COVID.
Oh, you know
At
what,
least
Sheila?
2.
I might just challenge you on that, because the Canadian Civil Liberties Association has this fetish of getting violent and even sexual offenders out of our jails to maintain social distancing, or maybe it's to make room for the Adam Skellys of the world who dare to open
Pastor
their
Coates.
Restaurants, right? Unbelievable, because otherwise, this association, which should be doing the work we're doing, Sheila, they're sitting this one out. They're going to compile notes at the end of this pandemic, and they're going to issue a stern press release if they noticed any civil liberties eclipsed. Unbelievable.
I don't know what these organizations do with your membership dues or the donations that they get. They raise money at these sort of annual gala sort of events where everybody gets dressed up and drinks expensive booze. And I know because I'm members of some of these journalistic I'm a member. I joined so that I can fairly criticize them for not defending journalistic freedom, but they hold these like big production events and raise a bunch of money and pat themselves on the back, but I don't actually see what they're doing with it all.
Well, the head honcho of the Canadian Civil Liberties Association is Michael Bryant, former Ontario Liberal, and we know he loves luxury automobiles. And by the way, folks, just an FYI, if you're a cyclist, make sure you give them a lot of leeway.
That's true. It's 11 o'clock. We got to finish up the super chat. I noticed my interview moved itself to later, so we can go a little later if we want to. Oh. Anyways, Herbert Hildebrandt goes on to say, nice to meet you in Edmonton, Sheila. Yeah, it was very good to meet you and seeing your dad at Grace Life Church also on Sunday.
Great guys.
Great guys and so kind. I felt like I already knew them because I've watched so many videos with them. Pink Phoenix Nails, $5. They're pushing vaccine education in Alberta schools. I sent you an email, Sheila. Okay, I will take a look. Thank you, Catherine, very much. Chris Lynch, $5. Alberta budget announced today. Any projections? Massive debt? Good guess. I can see Kenny giving into a PST next year. Media is pushing for it hard, and Kenny is a sucker. I feel like he'll probably hold the line on a PST. I wouldn't be surprised to see some tax hikes in there. Although when Kenny was in Harper's cabinet, they realized that tax breaks actually stimulate the economy. But also when Kenny was in Harper's cabinet, he cared about religious freedom. So it's anybody's guess today. And I was going to be in sort of the budget lockup, but I have freedom to fight for here with several stories that in interviews with lawyers all day. So. And
those other journalists in the budget lockup, they're always so nice to you, aren't they?
They take pictures of me there like I'm a zoo animal. Like I'm sitting there working. I've got my highlighters out like last budget, and I'm going through like everything line by line, and I'm carefully crafting my questions about like, how is this, like given this increase in that, how do you justify that given that you said this when Rachel Notley increased this by that much or blah, blah, blah. And I look over and there's people from the other media organizations, like literally holding their phones like this, thinking that I don't notice them taking pictures.
What the hell?
A bunch of weirdos. Put your head into the budget and do some work, weirdos.
Weirdos.
Anyways. Paul Forrest gives us $20. Hey, Menzoid, from one 62 model to another, keep up the good work.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Rebecca's channel gives us $5. Have you reached out to Roman Baber for an interview regarding his We Are All in This Together act? Can you comment on that act itself? David, I think you have. Have you not?
We have. And for whatever reason, he's undergone a bit of radio silence. But if Roman or anyone that knows Roman is watching, we will go anywhere, anytime to set up an interview and hear what this man of principle has to say.
Karen Stoppel gives us $5. Thank you, Rebels, for giving us a glimmer of hope. You all rock. Bust one out, Justin. There it is. Great. Sandman says, Runner gives us $5. Sheila, David, do not ever change. I love you guys both. Great reporters and hosts. Bulldogs, yet compassionate. Also full of fun and humor. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We work in news and things are it's not great out there. Like the economy, civil liberties, it's not great out there, but it doesn't mean you have to be miserable.
No, and Sheila, I just want to say, you and I, we've experienced physical assaults, as has Kian with me, even a bottle off my head, a dog lunging into my thigh, and those scars are still there, folks. But you know what? These are that's the lunatic fringe. Those are the statistical anomalies. When I go to, like, say, an anti-lockdown protest, I'm sure it's the same with you, Sheila, like going to the restaurant rebellion. The adulation, the love, it's actually so humbling, folks, when people give you compliments. They want to have a selfie with you in it. I never say no, even if I'm on a deadline, because how can you say no to that? And I'm deeply touched by that, and I want to thank you all.
Yeah, especially the restaurant rebellion, but also covering the churches.
Yeah.
I realize that the churches are putting a lot of trust in us to tell their side of the story. And I take that very seriously. And coming from a faith background, I understand, I think in a way that the mainstream media wouldn't. And I'm very grateful when people say to me, great story, you got it right, thank you. And I'm grateful for that. I appreciate that feedback because I never really know until the story goes to air. And I'm always anxious and I work really hard to get it right, obviously. But to get that sort of feedback loop, I really do appreciate that. So when people do stop me in public, please do continue to stop me in public because I do want to hear what you think about my work and what I could do to make it better or what you liked about it. Yeah. Ginger Marshall gives us $75. Holy smokes, thank you. So did you guys hear, supposedly, if you go to Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, you can get the crazy vaccine for $500. Funny, it doesn't even protect you from COVID, and who would want to be there if you got sick from it? So how did Chris Sky get passed? He didn't. They gave him a ticket, and he walked out because it's cheaper to take the ticket than to go to the COVID hotel for $2,000. So you can take your $800 ticket, or you can go go to the COVID hotel for $2,000.
Well, Sheila, that email gives me impetus to revisit Puerto Vallarta. I've been there twice. I love it. That's where they shot Predator back in 1987. And it's I have nothing but fun there. So maybe I should get on to Expedia.ca, but figure out a way to avoid the COVID hotel when I get back to Canada.
Well, and our vaccine procurement is so bad that the Canadians who are in like Florida or Arizona, they're more likely to get the vaccine there than they are here because they actually have it there. Let's keep going. Jürgen Adai. I'm sorry, I hope I said that right. $5. This is not a vaccine. We are the test subjects, people. A vaccine tested and passed in less than a year. Impossible. Do your research, Dr. Dave Martin. I'm just saying it seems hasty. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Ian Myers, $20. If the vaccine is so effective, then why would those that take it care if others don't? Aren't they protected? Also, how does the jab magically protect against every other variant? Love the macho t-shirt. Oh, yeah.
Ooh, dig it!
Well, I know that health... Snap into a Slim Jim. I know that our health officials aren't particularly confident about the efficacy of the vaccine, given that they're like, even if you have the vaccine, you're still going to be locked down for 2 years and wear 10 masks. Wrap your head in masks, basically.
You're right. There was a long factual feature in the New York Times several weeks ago, Sheila, and I couldn't understand the line of reasoning, but basically the premise was even when the entire American populace is vaccinated, here's why it's still a good idea to wear a mask or a double mask. I mean, what? I thought we were getting away from that by taking the vaccination.
People walking around with masks thinking it protects them like I walk around with rosary beads in all my jacket pockets. It's religious. That's what it is.
You know what? Sheila, you're onto something, and Ezra and I had a discussion about this. This was Ezra's idea, that I think really, especially when I see young, healthy people outdoors by themselves or they're a couple, and they're wearing a mask, to me it's a political statement. It's saying, I believe in big government, I believe in being told what to do, I believe in lockdowns, and I bet you most of these people are probably living at their parents' place and don't have any skin in the game in terms of enduring the pain. Because I'm telling you, if you're young and healthy and you think that mask is a good idea, statistically, you have a 6 times higher chance getting killed by getting hit by a car crossing the street. That's the real statistic for you.
Most of the locker downers are low liability locker downers.
Yeah.
You know, they live at home, they have a government job, or
Yep.
they can do all their work from Zoom, so they don't care, right? They order everything on Amazon or DoorDash because they live in the city or a big urban center. They don't, all that's really changed for them is that their whole like Netflix and chill feels like social justice instead of laziness. And that's what's going on here. Whereas the rest of us, we stand to lose something through a prolonged lockdown. They are happy to just hole up at home. Where some of us have kids that want to get back to playing sports, or we just want to live our lives and do everything like normal. And those, I think, a lot of it's justifying laziness by turning it into like a health virtue.
Oh, and the kids who are virtually invulnerable to this virus, Sheila, can't have them going into the great outdoors, can't have them playing hockey or basketball, but for some reason, the professional leagues can function that way. And earlier this month, we had a Super Bowl in which there were 25,000 people. I know that's not the full ballpark, folks, but it's about 40% of what that stadium holds. You had 25,000 people in the stands. Again, try to explain this madness to me in a scientific fashion.
And you can't go to church.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy. Gordon Gower gives us $6.99. The Menzies Gunn Ready love affair continues.
Oh.
This.
Please, are you trying to get me in trouble with human resources, sir?
I think I'm human resources. I'm not clear on that, though. Anyways, it goes on. This on-air flirting is really quite adorable.
Oh, there's a punchline there somewhere, but I dare not say it. I have been disciplined in the past, folks. Carry on, Sheila.
Love you guys. Thanks, Rebel News. Anyways, the government gives us $6.99. That's weird. Government giving us money. That's strange. Anyways.
It's a Christmas miracle.
I know. Please sell a shirt with Sneaky Patrick the moment he got caught with his hockey bag. Yeah, he has that like blank look.
Sheila, yesterday I'm coming in to be a guest on Ezra's show, and there was we're going to go to the airport later today and follow up on this because there's many people that are landing at Pearson and they're saying, screw this hotel stay, we're just walking into a cab. And Sneaky Patrick Brown, the mayor of Brampton, actually had the chutzpah, the sheer unmitigated gall to speak about these selfish people breaking the rules. Can you believe it? The guy that booked on the sly a hockey rink so he could play shinny with his Barrie buddies while not only keeping the kids off of Brampton ballparks, but having his Praetorian Guard fine them. Is there a bigger example of chutzpah than that, Sheila?
There's very few, but Justin is giving us like the bums rush off the air. He's like, you got to get off the air right away.
Oh yeah, we got that. We got a meal coming in from Panda Express. I think that's Justin's favorite, and he's a hungry bear, and that makes him angry. Oh, you should see his face right now.
Very Redbeard gives us £5. Peace out if you can't be good, be better than me. Okay. James McFadden, $5. Any comments on C21 and the Liberals targeting the toy gun market? It's crazy. I mean, they're obliterating the entire airsoft industry.
For no good reason.
It's plastic pellets.
Yeah.
Plastic pellet. Joyful Heart gives us $5. Only reset that will be great is the second coming of Christ. Linda Penrose, $5, Lemon character, and Baby Lemon jumping in the air to do a high five. Denise Pouliot gives us $20. I'm calling them COVID hell tells, like HELL. P.S. I emailed you. Sheila, did you get it? Love you all. Listen every day. Denise, I'll check my email again. I hope you are patient with me because I do get like hundreds of emails a day. Annalisa S. She had a lot of love for you yesterday, David. A lot of love. Please rewatch the end of the show where she explains why She's got it bad for you.
Wow.
Yes.
I
she
will
does.
do
And
that. Thank you, Annalisa S.
She does, and it's not anything that I expected. Anyways. Annalisa S gives us $6.99 and says that we're her 2 favorite rebels. Thank you very much, Annalisa.
Thank you.
Stephen gives us $5. Was going to send this earlier, but didn't want to derail the conversation. Ultimate Tag Team, Ultimate Maniacs. Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute. Was that wasn't the Hulk Hogan Macho Man tag team that was run briefly in the late 80s, was it? Sheila?
Let's get him to super chat us again about that.
Okay.
Why do you think that? Why do you think? Send it in a super chat, and we'll read it on air on Tuesday after we've compiled our list of favorite tag teams.
That's
right. Is that what our list is? Favorite tag teams. Okay. I want to hear your theories, Stephen, about why you think that. And I think we've got to wrap up the show. We're a quarter past the hour, and that's it. Justin is hungry.
Oh, hungry as a hibernating bear coming out of the cave. One more super chat, though, Mr. Producer says.
Them That Believe Deliverance Ministry gives us $5, and I don't see a super chat, but that's very, very generous.
Well, thank you so much. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. A special thank you to the Super Chatters. Tomorrow, Ezra Levent, the big boss man, he'll be in this chair. Sheila and I will be back on Tuesday. In the meantime, stay sane.